Trevor Kavanagh, former political editor of The Sun. First of all, before we talk about migration, your thoughts on Sir Keir Starmer's position, let's say, on the world stage. He looks like a muppet, doesn't he?
He looks and sounds like a muppet, and I think being caught with our pants down is quite a compliment, actually. I don't think we've got any pants at the moment. And we've been revealed as walking naked into any sort of conference chamber here. And we have no defense mechanism, no military, no armed forces to speak of, and nothing is actually working. It's taking 2 weeks to equip a boat to go out to Cyprus, and that doesn't include the time of sailing. It's just a national embarrassment. But it's worse than that, because it sends a signal to anyone who feels like attacking us that we are defenseless and we can't and won't hit back.
I want to play this clip as well, because we all had a laugh at the TikTok clip. Now, we've enjoyed, haven't we, on regular occasions, watching David Lammy's rather embarrassing appearance on Mastermind. A mastermind he is not, but given this man is the Deputy Prime Minister, if Sir Keir Starmer were to wriggle off his mortal coil tomorrow, he'd be leading the country. Given that he is the former Foreign Minister, I'm wondering whether he even knows where Cyprus is. This was him talking on BBC News about Cyprus being part of NATO, which it is not.
What I would say is we've got 400 people, additional staff dealing with air defences, and that includes over Cyprus. They would have heard the Defence Secretary was there yesterday. They know also that we have deployed Typhoons to the region, F-35s to the region. We will do everything we can to protect our airbase, to protect our staff and people, but also to support alongside our allies, I should say, because Cyprus is part of NATO.
I mean, what on earth? He was a former foreign minister. Everyone knows that Cyprus is a country that's essentially divided between Turkey and Greece. It might be in the EU, but NATO it ain't. Why doesn't he know basic facts?
Well, Alex, if it weren't so deadly serious, this would be a really hilarious interview, wouldn't it? But it is serious, and this is a man who is Deputy Prime Minister and a former Foreign Secretary. And he's not fit to carry a bag for any other politician. He's not actually qualified in any mental acuity or ability to do the job he's now doing. And it's really alarming for the position of this country, and it combines with all the other appalling incidents and failures that we've seen over the last 18 months. And this government has been in office now for very nearly 2 years, and it's still floundering.
People have been sending me messages. This is quite funny. The music, of course, in that clip on TikTok was Money for Nothing by Dire Straits. You couldn't make it up. Oh, the irony of all of that. It seems to me, though, one of the reasons, at least, that Sir Keir Starmer might have been hesitant about supporting the United States and seemed to keep making it explicitly clear, we're not part of this. We didn't allow America to use bases in our country to launch these attacks, including to a gathering of Muslims in the Palace of Westminster the other day. It seems to me one of the things that's worrying him is the domestic terror threats. We've had 4 people arrested today, and this is actually a long-term investigation into these people, not in reaction to what has happened since Saturday, for supporting the Iranian state in at least doing surveillance on Jewish people and Jewish locations. It bleeds in a little bit to, I suppose, a bit of progress when it comes to addressing concerns of who is in this country. But what do you make of Shabana Mahmood's scheme of handing failed asylum seeker families £40,000 to leave Britain? I get that that's cheaper than keeping them here in the long run, but to me it also suggests that, you know, if you manage to come over to the country illegally, claim asylum, you could be paid for it.
Absolutely. But look, I mean, you might be surprised to hear this, Alex, but I actually think it's at least a start on the part of someone in the Labour Party to realise what the damage has been done to this country by wholesale mass uncontrolled immigration. OK, nobody's going to be happy about paying these people to leave. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said these people. I mean, illegal migrants who have come in by breaking the law. They will not go of their own accord. And they are, at least the Labour government and Shabana Mahmood is taking the first steps towards recognising the problem that we face.
The problem, though, that she faces now is that a lot of the backbenchers are not supporting her policies, one even likening it to Donald Trump's ICE. Tony Vaughan, who's apparently a Labour MP and guess what? A barrister at Sir Keir Starmer's old chambers. There we go, more of his lefty lawyer chums, have organised a letter opposing her plans and saying we can change our immigration system for the better without forgetting who we are as a Labour Party. It seems to me we're at the 11th hour now. We have sleeper cells here. We've got strains on our public services, divided societies, balkanised communities, an increasing terror threat. And this government's answer, as minor as it may be in some of the at least foot in the right direction of Shabana Mahmood, may not actually amount to anything anyway, because it's not in the party's DNA to follow through.
Exactly right. No matter how good her ideas are or how sincere she might be in trying to deal with this problem, her party won't wear any of it. And so this, even from the outset, is doomed to fail. And anything indeed that is sensible that we need done in this country in terms of the economy, our defence, our health service, our welfare state, any attempt by this government to try to put this back on track is doomed to fail because of the party which will not wear any of it. They will literally revolt over any attempt to save this country from what looks like an inevitable path downhill.
How do you see things playing out? Because I think there's various ways that the emergence of this conflict is going to have a pretty onerous impact on our government, not least the special relationship and our standing on the international stage. I don't imagine that Donald Trump's going to be best chums with Starmer anymore. The Diego Garcia Chagos Island saga is coming to a head. The economic impact, the impact on our energy. I have a feeling this government are going to be caught very much wanting. How do you see this playing out for them?
This is seriously bad news for this government because Donald Trump famously does not forgive what he regards as slights. And he has been offended by the way that we have denied him access to Diego Garcia, which is an absolutely fundamental strategic asset to the whole of the West, not just to America, but to the whole of the Western world against the threats from China, Russia, or from wherever that is not of a democratic nature. And we have said to him no. And that is unforgivable to any president, but particularly to one with such a thin skin as Donald Trump.
Now, politically speaking, I'm rather concerned about when you look at the polling, it would suggest right now, if an election was held, the next Prime Minister could be Nigel Farage. Now, he announced members of a shadow cabinet who he wanted to be in charge of a portfolio, developing policy, going out in TV studios and beginning to push a positive agenda for reform, what they might look like as government. But the one position that seems to be critically missing is any sort of foreign affairs spokesman. And I'm concerned that they've been rather quiet on this, that I'm not particularly sure where they stand when it comes to foreign affairs. Have you sort of clocked the absence of any sort of, other than obviously saying, of course, we would support America, we'd let them use air bases. Do you think that they've sort of exposed a vulnerable flank?
I think so. And I think the first symptoms of this, Alex, emerged during the Gorton by-election, which seemed to me to be fought with sort of one hand tied behind their backs. So there's almost half-hearted. We didn't see much of Nigel on the streets there. And the polling, although they did very well coming second, wasn't as good as everyone assumed and hoped it would be as far as the Reform membership was concerned. And I think this is the problem, because it isn't just the fact that there's an absence, a hole in the shadow cabinet or whatever you want to call it. It is the fact that those who already occupy positions are not necessarily welcomed by those who might be tempted to vote Reform. Those Tory retreads are not popular amongst the Reform Party, but you're absolutely right that it is on these very, very big issues that Reform will be judged in the run-up to the next general election. And at the moment, they look as if they're found to be wanting.
And let's go back to Gorton and Denton, because we haven't caught up for a long time, you and I, Trev. And I want to get your reaction on that, because I find this emergence of the Green Party being used almost like a sort of zombie slug being taken over by an Islamist parasite as pretty frightening.
Well, not only is it frightening, Alex, I think it's not a passing phase. I think the real serious risk here is that these people are digging roots and making and entrenching their position. People aren't suddenly waking up to the fact that they're a bunch of con artists and basically shysters. In the case of Polanski himself, they are falling for it, and they're falling for it in very large numbers, and they are enduring. They will not suddenly disappear as people see them for what they are, because people don't really want to see them as they are. They're perfectly prepared to vote for them on the basis of Polanski's promises to save the world while doing nothing.
Do you think that we're being a little bit too lackadaisical about the threat that this represents? Because I'm astonished that nobody, now they've got 5 MPs in Parliament, given that they've, in one recent poll by YouGov, shown to be polling second now at a national level. No one's asking questions of the Deputy Leader, Mothin Ali. Nobody seems to be asking questions of the family votes. It popped up in the press and it's disappeared again. And quite what this represents. Is there a fear, do you think, among elements of the legacy media, let's call them, about addressing this issue? Have they not realised?
It's a very, very good question, Alex, and I haven't got the answer to it because I don't think we've taken them seriously up until now. Everyone's describing Zach Polanski as the breast whisperer or the breast enhancer because of his track record of claiming that he can enlarge women's breasts just by gazing at them. That was the joke. And he is no longer a joke. He is a serious threat to the way we live in this country. He is divisive. He is courting the votes of Islamist groups, and he is being successful in this venture. And as I say, he is digging in. He is not being moved by popular opinion, realizing for what he is. He is getting away with it.
You know, this is my concern, because there's a lot of young people out there who just hear the vibes. Oh, they're nice. Isn't he fun? Look at him running. Look at him in Heaven nightclub. I'm going to vote for the Greens because they're trendy and hip and cool. And I feel like these people need to be told, well, you might think they're trendy and hip and cool, but wait till you see who is exploiting them and what's lying in the shadows. I think it's very dangerous indeed. And we're doing young people a great disservice by not addressing these issues head on. Trevor, it's always good catching up with you, the former political editor of The Sun, Trevor Kavanagh there.